In this unit, we're going to be looking at percentages, ratios, and rates. And when we talk about percentages, ratios, and rates, we are still talking about the proportional relationship or the equivalent fraction relationship, which is a times divide relationship. And there is a times divide factor that goes up and down, left and right. So this equivalent fraction relationship, this or proportional relationship, we're going to use, and to do that, we're just going to find a multiplier to go from one fraction to another. So for example, when we have 1/3 and we want to convert it to fraction out of 9, we're going to find our multiplier between those two numbers. Okay, so when we take a look at the multiplier between 3 and 9, to find the multiplier, we divide. So dividing the 9 by 3, I end up with 3. So my multiplier must be times 3 to go from 3 to 9. And I can check it. 3 times 3 equals 9. If my multiplier on the bottom is times 3, the multiplier on the top must also be 3. And so we end up with 3 over 9 is equivalent proportion or equivalent fraction to 1 over 3. Looking at B, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to find our multiplier by comparing these two numbers. We find our multiplier by dividing. 16 divided by 4 is times by 4. We're going to use the exact same multiplier on the top. So 3 times 4 gives us 12. So 3 over 4 is the same fraction as 12 over 16, or in other words, the same proportion. We do the same thing here. We're going to compare these two numbers. The multiplier that we're going to use to go from 5 to 15 is times by 3. We're going to times by 3 on the top. So 2 times 3 is 6. So the fraction 2 over 5 is equal to 6 over 15. In other words, the proportion 2 over 5 is equal to the proportion 6 over 15. So this is how we can do with equivalent fractions. We've done this before. When we talk about percentages, so we're going to start with percentages. A percentage is just making it a fraction out of 100. So specifically, we're going to make this a fraction out of 100. Well, we'll do the same thing. If I want to make 1 over 4 into a fraction of 100, I still need to find my multiplier between these two numbers. So I divide. So dividing those two numbers, I get 100 divided by 4. So 100 divided by 4 is equal to 25. So that's my multiplier. So I need that same multiplier times by 25 on top. So I end up with 25%. So 1 over 4 as a percentage is 25%. We'll do the same thing here. We're going to find a multiplier. So the multiplier between those two is going to be 100 divided by 10 or times 10. We use the same multiplier times 10 on top, and we get 20 out of 100 or 20%, the same proportion as 2 over 10. So 3 out of 5, if we got 3 out of 5 on a test, what's the percentage? We're going to convert to percent. Comparing those two numbers, we divide. 5 times 20 equals 100. We need times 20 on the top, and so we end up with 60%. So 3 out of 5 on a test is same as getting 60% on a test. So this is using the proportional relationship, using equivalent fraction relationship. Okay, this times factor that we need is what we find to convert from one fraction to another, or a fraction to a percent. We can also convert to a percent by using our calculator and getting a decimal value. So if I want to convert 1 over 4 into a percentage, Okay, on your calculator, do 1 divided by 4. When we do that, we get 0.25. Okay, so that's the first step. We convert to a decimal, and then using that, we're going to convert to percent. The way we convert to percent is we move the decimal 2 places. So if I move this over 2 places, I go 1, 2, I end up with 25%. And if I take a look at the previous one, 1 over 4, when I used a proportion, we ended up with 25% as well. So we'll do the same thing here. We convert to decimal first. Okay, so we're going to convert this to decimal by dividing. 2 divided by 10. On my calculator, I get 0.2. And then converting this to a percentage, converting that to a percentage, we end up with, I think my pencil's not quite working here. So converting that to percent, we're going to end up with 20%. There we go, 20%. Okay, so we're moving that decimal over 2 places to get the 20%. So 3 over 5, first convert to decimal. So 3 divided by 5 on my calculator gives me 0.60. Converting that into a percentage, we're going to end up moving that decimal 1, 2 places, and we end up with 60%. And we can see that that's the same as what we got in the previous one where we used the proportion to do the same thing. So we have a choice here. We can use a proportional equation. We could also use this strategy of converting to a decimal and then moving the decimal place 2 places.